In this video,
almost looks like a robot and timber.
We look back at some of the most brutal knockouts in boxing history.
Oh, look at that!
Let's get straight to it.
Jimmy Smith. 4 rounds, heavyweights.
Jimmy Smith stepping into a boxing ring was like watching a baby deer trying to walk for the first time. If that deer had no sense of balance and was somehow also convinced it could box. His movements were a bizarre mix of flailing limbs and uncoordinated jerks, as if his body couldn't decide whether it was boxing, breakdancing, or trying to escape from a straitjacket. As Smith awkwardly charged forward, it became painfully obvious that defense was just a rumor he had heard about but never actually considered.
It may be a pretty good matchup. What do you think? I mean, look at this guy.
This is bizarre stuff. Almost looks like a rock'em sock'em robot and timber. He is cold-cocked by Tony Moscow.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
You can almost hear it. He needs an alarm. And Brian Gary issues it, flags him out. We may need the Guinness people ringside here. I think we've seen a new world record. That's got to be one of the quickest knockouts ever. Not a long night's work for Tony Moscow.
And not a good night for the Smith clan.
It may be a good night. The Smith brothers not holding up too well here at the Sundome. This guy's genuinely hurt, though. He walked into a haymaker. The crowd is going nuts.
The punch connected with the kind of precision that made you wince and laugh at the same time. Smith's body went stiff. His wild, swinging arms suddenly frozen in midair before he crumbled to the canvas.
Had some amateur experience, knows when to spot an opening and exploit it. And check out where Smith drops the left hand. You'll see it in just a second. Actually, you just saw the whole fight right there. Right here. Drop the left, right there. Like some kind of weird bird coming in. There is the right hand.
And it was a whirly bird that landed.
Well, you know, tell you what, Moscow does a good job of keeping his composure while all this is going on. He doesn't get into the brawl, stands back, measures the man, and comes in with a pretty good right hand, good straight right.
Looked like one of the characters out of the Night of the Living Dead. And fortunately, we see that Jimmy Smith is not too much the worse for wear as he's now sitting up and being administered to.
One of our crew at ringside wrote me a note. It said it looked like Fred Sanford versus Esther. That'd be like a 10-1 round, Jeff, I think.
That was the big one.
In that one round, Smith solidified his place in boxing history, not as a champion, but as the poster child for what happened when you mix absolute determination with zero skill. His boxing career may have been brief, but Jimmy Smith certainly left an impression, just not the one he'd probably hoped for.
22 seconds of the first round. The winner by knockout and still undefeated, Tony Moscow.
I want to fight with Naseem Hamed. I come in to fight Naseem Hamed here in England, no problem. All the people is very good people. Naseem, I am here for fight with you, wherever you want.
And clear up one other thing. Do you actually play football in the Mexican second division as well?
Yes, now I play football, soccer every Saturday. After to fight, I arrive in Mexico to play football, soccer.
I'm not quite sure. Last time we saw him, he blasted out Sam Horton, I should say, in a couple of rounds with a left hook. Good.
Paul Samuels and Renda both had pretty good left hooks. Samuels had Renda backing up after he landed his left hook, but then he got dropped with Renda's left hook. Keep an eye out for that punch from both guys.
That's what he can do.
5, 6, 7.
What a start.
8.
Well, we thought it was going to be like that. First of all, Samuels got through, and then Renda caught him with a big punch, forcing the knockdown, both loading up.
This fight looks like a knockout waiting to happen, but who goes down?
I thought Samuels was the more fluid puncher of the two, and he was having success on the front foot.
Punches, he's really in trouble, Renda there. A bit woozy, a bit wobbly, back he comes. It's amazing action here this opening round. Another big right from Samuel, who's been on the floor, but was on the verge of taking Renda out.
Renda did well to recover. The legs are still a bit unsteady, and he takes another big one, Renda.
Big shots. Render's in big trouble, staggered against those ropes. Glenn's wondering how to score it.
What a remarkable round. There, Renda coming out on top there with a good punch, catching Samuels flush with that left hook, and Samuels takes a count.
The action was fierce. Both guys had no problems throwing hard leather in exchanges, as you can see from these replays.
Renda very unsteady on his legs at the end of the round. Well, let's hope there's another one like that. That was a great round.
Could they do that again in the second? I think if it's the second round's like the first, somebody's going to get stopped.
In the second round, we saw one of the most amazing moments that had ever happened in a boxing ring.
Well, it looks as if the punches are taking a little more out of Renda than they are Samuels.
Oh, look at that! A simultaneous knockdown! Who's first to get up? It's Renda. They both landed. Samuel stays down. It's at 7. 8. He's not going to make it, is he? 9. 9.5. Just about. What an extraordinary incident. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Both of them load up, left hooks, land at the same time, and the same reaction, both going down. Renda recovered the quicker of the two, but this doesn't happen very often.
That is what happened next, isn't it? For years to come.
The double knockdown is so rare to see in boxing, and amazingly the fight continues. I think you can get a good read on the level of the fighter by watching his right hand when he throws a left hook. Neither guy has their right hand protecting their chins here. Nobody knew who was going to win at this point.
But Ian, you wouldn't put much money on this going the distance, would you?
Absolutely none. I think the bookies would give you about 1,000 to 1 at the moment for that. Look at these, Samuels. 1, 2, 3 punches with either hand. Body shots as well. Renda, nothing coming back. Referee having another close look. Big shots. Samuels has won it. Renda's beaten all over in round 3 of a quite memorable undercard battle. That was a stormer, and what a win for Paul Samuels. What an amazing win in a quite remarkable fight.
Well, he's certainly happy about it. Shouting time, I'm not sure.
In the end, the more fluid punching of Samuels takes over, and I just think he was the better textbook fighter of the two. What a great effort from Renda, though.
And at the end, it was Samuels who was the stronger, the fitter, and got on top.
Battle of two punchers, which more than lived up to expectations. I think it's fair to say, in fact, an understatement to say.
Very good finish. He looked the stronger throughout. Samuels, the punches affected Renda much more. And a good stoppage, keeping the pressure piled on. It had to go that way.
Former female fighter standout Ann Wolfe trains James Kirkland. James Kirkland's a natural fighter, and Ann Wolfe trains him to be a fighter more than a boxer.
When he was under the tutelage of Ann Wolfe, the aggression and ferocity of James Kirkland was too much for many opponents.
Albert loves to go to the body, but right now he's bending his middle half of the body and putting himself. Oh!
And he goes down. Oh. He is hurt.
Yeah, he got hit.
Shot on the inside.
I thought Albert was extremely shaky after the first knockdown.
Got blood on his head. He looks very wobbly right now. The referee's taking a good look at him.
Let's go. He was down in his only loss against Julio Jan, and he's hurt again, and down he goes, and Joe Cortez stops it.
And the fight had to be stopped after the second knockdown, in my opinion. Kirkland got a lot of abuse for not being technically correct with his punches a lot of the time, but notice these short and sharp straight left hands for the first knockout. Beautiful punches.
Tempo that really bugged him there, and he couldn't recover from that.
The second one was more of the same.
And here we look at the second one.
Speaking of Ann Wolfe, your trainer, Ann, you have this gym in Texas that people are talking about. Some people think you're insane the way you prepare your fighters. Some people think maybe you're on to something. What did you do to prepare James for this fight tonight?
Because all this new boxing, we go back to the old school. We do things that you ain't gonna never see in here. If you play with a puppy, you'll lick you in the mouth. When you come to the gym, there's bulldogs in there. You better be a bulldog or you're gonna get ate alive.
took, but that's boxing. He's not the only one who has been treated like this by Inoue. Against Frenchman Jean Stock, Robinson gave a clinic in brutality.
Clubbed to the canvas by a sharp left jab.
Stock looked like he'd wandered into a fight with a human blender.
But he comes back for more, and if there's any doubt about the outcome, it's not shared by the fight fans. Sugar Ray's punishing blows to the body floor the Frenchman a second time. Dazed and dumbfounded by the fury of his adversary's attack, Stock still manages to get a grip on himself and get up at the count of 7.
Robinson's combinations were so precise that Stock was left wondering if he'd accidentally signed up for a demolition job instead of a boxing match. Hopkins looked extremely sharp in his fight against Mitchell.
The opening round, what did you send him out there to do?
Body shots, mainly the body shots. Dave Tiberi and Tyrone Frenzy.
Look at that right hand.
Will go into the corner of Hopkins and Sean O'Grady. Well, if we hear a bell, and now it is Hopkins closing in. Mitchell with the referee.
Mitchell's legs went like they just heard a really bad joke, and the referee gave him a count because the ropes were holding him up, like they were trying to get in on the action.
Nothing, says Danny Mitchell, so he goes stumbling at the end of the first.
That brutal combination was enough for Mitchell, and he decided to call it a day.
They say no problem, or that's it. He says that is it. He has had enough. So
in one of his best performances ever, Liston outclassed and destroyed Cleveland Williams. Liston started the fight showing off his defensive skills.
He's been throwing some big leather at Sonny Liston.
After getting his jab going, Liston took the fight to mid-range and started letting his powerful hooks fly.
And throwing now an occasional lead with his right hand. Sonny Liston bombing him in there now.
Liston had extremely long arms, but he can shorten up his hooks and become an inside fighter.
When Liston stays in close, he gets all the better of it with Cleveland Williams. Williams is responding to the coaching from his corner.
If you don't have good lateral movement, fighting Liston is like trying to dodge a freight train on roller skates. Nowhere is safe for Cleveland. Notice how Liston always has great head position on the inside. He takes away his opponent's offense, especially uppercuts.
And a left hook catches Cleveland Williams and drops him. 4. Williams groggy yet. Liston moving in now, hunting for the one that can end it. Cleveland Williams battling to stay on his feet. Bang to the canvas again. 3. Reels into the corner, and it stopped. Referee Jimmy Taylor stops the fight.
I don't know about you, but if I saw David Tua walking to the ring as my opponent, I'd be looking for a way out. Tua is an extremely intimidating guy. Desmond Nicholson was a tough heavyweight, and he was eyeballing Tua in the ring, but Tua was eyeballing him back. The punishment was severe on this night. Notice that look of shock on Nicholson's face after that punch. He knew he was in with a beast. I'm not sure if Tua was going through any frustrations in his personal life, but he was taking everything out on Nicholson. Nicholson's head bounced off the canvas and the fight was rightly stopped at this point out of concerns for the safety of Nicholson. In his absolute prime, Tua was a monster of a fighter. Only one man would ever stand his ground and have a war with Tua when Tua was in his prime, and he probably picked up brain damage from that fight. Everyone else ran. We will hear about that guy in future videos.
Here it is again. Now he looks like he wants to. Referee very close. He's slumping in. Davis banging away. Straight right hand. Uppercut lands. All Aaron Davis here. Big combination. Durbin goes down. Fight is over.
There are not that many occasions when a lead uppercut has been utilized to straighten up an opponent, but Aaron Davis showed that punch regularly in his career.
Let's take a look at that. There's that uppercut, Sam. It goes right between Durbin's hands. That's a very, very good punch.
The lead uppercut is such an effective punch because when it's thrown correctly, you can get a great deal of leverage into it.
Do it again, straight right hand. There it is again, right between Durbin's hands. It's beautiful. There it is again.
Wow. Gets good leverage on that punch.
He sure does, Sam.
It has less distance to travel than the rear uppercut, and notice how it splits the guard of Durbin. The punch nearly takes Durbin's head off, and even though this is a less well-known fight, it stayed in my mind because of the impact of those uppercuts. Just really brutal stuff.
Cut the right in between his hands. There it is, Sam. Right in between his hands. Look at the way it lifted his head up in the end, nailed him with the right hand.
You know what's going to happen to you, Aaron? You're going to be watching television. You're going to see a lot of guys using that left uppercut because not too many guys know that punch. Billy, you're going to keep it a secret. You're going to teach guys how to use it.
We're building another kid. He's watching Aaron, and he's learning how to throw the uppercut too. But most old-time fighters threw uppercuts. And like I said, watching the old-time trainers, we learn how, we teach our guys uppercuts. It's a dangerous, dangerous punch. And when you catch a guy, you slow him down and you hurt him. Hits him in the nervous system. That's it.
7, 8, 9, 1, 2.
The loose and languid style of Sanders was on display again as he threw a nice fast combo to put Brooks down. The referee saved Brooks from a serious knockout. Notice it was the rear uppercut that landed flush here and really hurt Brooks. Guys who Sanders hit cleanly ended up having a very scared look on their face, like you saw in Brooks here. Brandon Hennatt was a nice compact puncher in his day, and the vicious combination he throws here gives us a rare moment. Announcers screaming at the referee to stop the fight for the safety of the opponent.
Official and his referee.
All in the family.
Oh, nice left hook by Mitchell.
That's it.
Hit it in real trouble.
Ref, get in there. Come on, ref.
Evans has got to stop the fight. Come on. Oh, he's calling for what? A standing 8 count?
The fight should be over. The referee should have been in there. He was on the outside watching. He should have been in there breaking the fight. The guy was getting hammered.
Hennan is out of it here.
There's no reason this fight should go on.
The referee lets the fight go on, and I think everyone has their hearts in their mouth at that moment as they await a brutal knockout that's clearly going to happen any second.
Here comes an official up to...
They're telling him to stop the fight. If you can get a camera over, and the commissioners, I believe, are over here telling him to stop the fight.
Call by the referee. He lost control of the fight.
What round is it? He's being questioned. This is
okay. What's
a ring physician.
What's the name of the city we're at?
I'm not sure if the fight has been officially stopped or not at this point.
You want to continue?
They're asking him if they want to continue. They should stop
the fight. That's why they're getting a paycheck. You're supposed to stop the fight when the fighter's hurt. Not ask him if he wants to continue. Not ask him if he wants to get killed. Stop the fight.
In perhaps one of the most bizarre moments in boxing, an official comes on the apron and Mitchum is brought over to answer a series of questions. After taking the punches he took, I'm not sure he knew what planet he was on, so it was reasonable to stop the fight there. I've just never seen a fight stop during the action like that, so that a fighter can be given a series of questions like that.
The fight was over right after that first hard shot, basically, by Mitchum.
He got wobbled, he turned his back. That's a sign right there the guy doesn't want to continue. If there's ever a call for an 8, standing 8 at that point, that's when you should have did it.
All right, let's take a look at it here, Tony.
Left
there's
hook,
the
right
left
on the
hook.
butt. Wobbles, turns his back. Right here is a standing 8 count. It's unanswered punches, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
should have
8.
been stopped
right there. Right there. He should have stopped. He should have given him a standing 8 count when he got wobbled. He's just trying to protect himself.
Well, I don't even think there should have been a standing 8 count, Tony. The fight should have been stopped in my mind. I mean, I just don't see what the point was of letting it go on.
When he got wobbled and he turned his back, you can give him an 8 count there. But then to not even do anything, let the guy get pounded, you should have stopped the fight.
The long limbs of Carlos Monzon often remind me of a praying mantis.
Still knocked down. Monzon knows it. Maybe now or never. Hitting the top of his man's head. And the referee stopping it.
Monzon systematically stalks, jabs, and ultimately plows Griffiths with hard right hands, which culminated in a stoppage win right here.
And listen to the crowd at Luna Park in Argentina. And look at the abrazos between of his ringside staff.
Monzon was clearly built like a tank, and his straight punching meant it was very hard for anyone to close the distance. Once Monzon detects a weakness, he unleashes the combinations that made him the best middleweight of all time in the eyes of many boxing purists.
And now he's really hitting him. Now here's where Griffith went down, almost impossible to get at. He's still being pummeled on the sides of his head. And now the referee moves in and says it's all over with 14 seconds left in the 14th round. 14 and 14 turned out to be the magic numbers for Carlos Monzon. Air travel arranged through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines, the airline of sports.
16 by knockout, won the USBA junior lightweight title with an upset.
Former world champion Sean O'Grady was trying to get his career back on track when he took on John Verderosa.
Since he was stopped by Cornelius Boza Edwards back in April of '82, and Verderosa did land, and then O'Grady able to get out of the way, but here's Verderosa who hurt O'Grady.
But O'Grady was subjected to a bad beating. It was a lead right hand that got him going, and the way O'Grady just kept backing up and not getting John's respect just led to him taking more punishment.
In trouble here in this 4th round. Oh, left hand and right, and O'Grady try to counter, and down he goes.
O'Grady looking at his corner, his worried father telling him to take the count. But no question about it, Verderosa on his mark, ready to come forward.
O'Grady showed a lot of heart to get up.
Following the impressive 3rd round by O'Grady, and he is in big trouble.
O'Grady's eyes are getting very, very blank.
But the way John is just effortlessly throwing bombs while switching stances is too much for O'Grady to handle at this point.
O'Grady has nothing left in the legs. You'll see time remaining in this 4th round. Verderosa just teeing off on O'Grady.
And here's where that year of inactivity, where goes O'Grady?
Sean O'Grady down for the 2nd time. Referee's discretion depending on the severity of the knockout according to the referee.
O'Grady taking a heck of a pummeling right in the corner there.
Oh, this one's all over.
It's all over.
John the Heat Verderosa stopping Sean O'Grady in round 4. So Verderosa making the turn after his inactivity, stopping O'Grady, who his head of
O'Grady would go on to retire after the fight. He had a long career, and I think this beatdown made him realize that it just wasn't worth it at this point. But he did have a very good career. He became a commentator and did a great job behind the mic. He was one of my favorite commentators back in the day.
Said, that's the story. Sean O'Grady stopped in what many folks around the country will consider a surprise.
Speaking of left hooks, Razor had a good one. This left hook coming up was an illegal punch, though. Unfortunately, the broadcast went to a commercial break just as the punch landed, but we can see from the replay that it was a clean shot after the bell. I've seen people get disqualified for this kind of thing. I think something like this should be an immediate disqualification and a ban. Boxing has rules for a reason.
Ruddock picking up his pace here in round 3. Let's find out from the Odom corner what they thought of the foul by Razor Ruddock. Dan Jenkins is over there. Dan?
Tim, they are calling for a disqualification over in the Camille Odom corner. Ralph Citro, the cut man, is screaming still. Why don't you disqualify him for that late shot? Tim, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Well, that follows on the heels of yesterday's controversial win by Nigel Benn over Iran Barkley. Many thinking, Gil and I included, that referee Carlos Padilla should have disqualified Nigel Benn for knocking Barkley on the head after Barkley was already on the canvas.
And Tim, Ruddock has thrown a lot of punches, a lot of hard punches, and he still hasn't really wobbled Camille Odom. Again, that 10 pounds, if this fight goes any distance, could be very, very important.
Oh, there's right in the left hand. It was a short right hand that did the damage, snapping back the head of Odom and a big left behind it. Now Ruddock trying to get the crowd back on his side, but they're booing him. Is Odom going to make it up? No, it is all over. Third round knockout for Razor Ruddock, and not a popular one following his late blow at the end of round 2. But Razor Ruddock has scored a knockout victory.
The huge punching Razor unleashed a terrifying combination there to get the finish. The inside uppercut was brutal, and then the trademark left hook almost decapitated the opponent. Ruddock was a serious banger with that left hook, but as his career went on, I thought he started relying on one punch and became predictable. That left hook is a really scary punch, though.
There's the right hand, and there's the left behind it, bringing it up from underneath. And a knockout victory scored by Donovan Razor Ruddock, number 3 ranked heavyweight in the world. Well, we've ahead on CBS Sports.